You gotta give me one thing. I'm a scary judge of talent.
Adolphus Washington back-to-back plays.
The Detroit Pistons select Luke Kennard from Duke University.
Welcome back, everybody. We've got another episode of the Triple Double Podcast. I'm Corey Albertson of Triple Double Prospects. Jason Moore of 270 Hoops is on the producing keyboard, I guess you would call it. And we've got Kurt Stubbs for his third appearance. Stubbs, what's up?
You know, this is a big day. Trio of appearances for me. It was very parallel to my basketball career. I never came inside the three-point line.
There you go. That's the Stubbs story. Well, Kurt Stubbs, for those who don't remember, is a basketball writer, prep writer for JJHuddle, and recently formed the Ohio High School Hoops Around the State podcast, which I've been fortunate enough to be on a couple times. And in the Around the State podcast, they talk about all the different regions of the state of Ohio. He's got different guests on there. And Stubbs, you got a big-time show going on over there.
You know, we're growing. The amazing thing that I found out when I did this is I had an idea of who what part of the state would be my best listenership, and boy, I was completely wrong. Man, the small towns just eat that stuff up, and they love it. But it's been a lot of fun having guys like you and Zach and TJ and Seth and some other guys, Michael on there. And it's been a lot of fun, and I think we're going to continue to grow.
Do you remember I gave you one small piece of advice? Not that I've got the answers, but do you remember what I told you the best way to make your podcast is? What do you need to get?
I need to get a Morrow. That's what I need a
Gotta
Morrow.
get a Morrow. Gotta get a Morrow. And I'm kind of surprised you haven't had Morrow on. Get him a speaking part on your podcast. I figured that you didn't want to have a guy with a better beard on there. I get that, but you got to get yourself a Morrow.
Yeah, the beard, I had it down to him and Prescott. I couldn't decide which way I wanted to go.
Fair enough. God, that's a tough call. Well, speaking of tough calls, that's a Kurt Stubbs segue. Speaking of tough calls, we're going to talk today about some different districts. Sectional district tournament starting this weekend all over the state of Ohio. So what I want to do here today, Stubbs, is run through all these different districts and kind of get your thoughts on the teams. When I name a district, I'm going to name a couple of the teams that I think have a real good chance to be there towards the end. And if I'm missing anybody in the district, please feel free to add on. But you're going to be, I'll do some of the Southwest, but in the other regions, you're going to be our expert today. Are you qualified?
You know what? 38% is my accuracy, so I think I am.
That's not a bad three-point shooting percentage. So let's start with Division I, and let's start in the Akron-Toledo region. First district, the Toledo 1 district. To me, it looks like it's going to come down to Toledo-Whitmer versus the winner of Toledo-St. Francis de Sales and Toledo-Stark.
Yeah, Whitmer, I think, would be a solid favorite in that district. Them and Toledo-St. Francis coming out of the track, they're pretty familiar with each other, playing each other twice a season. Toledo Stark's an interesting team out of the City League. They've had a really nice season. I think they're about 17-3. I don't know. They have not been beat in the City League this year, so I don't know. Maybe they could get DeSales, but I'm going to be surprised if we're not looking at Whitmer and DeSales for that district title. And I really like Whitmer because I like their point guard play in Siroka, and I think he's going to be the difference.
Okay. Toledo 2, the rest of the Toledo schools in the Division I level. You've got Sylvania Northview, who's really high up in the AP poll, I believe top 5. They'll play Toledo St. John's, and then the winner of that game will play most likely the winner of Lima Senior and Findlay.
Yeah, Lima Senior and Findlay have obviously played each other twice this year. Lima Senior's having a real nice season. Quincy Simpson got a pretty good collection of talent up there. But Finley's got a couple of guys in none that can put the ball in the basket. I think Lima Senior, if I'm not mistaken, has got them both times. But on the other side, St. John's is a team that started real slow. They got, the transfer was eligible to play. Then they got hot for a while, but they've since cooled off. And then you mentioned Northview is 21-0. They've got one game left against Maumee to go 22-0. But I'm going to pull a couple of teams out that I think could possibly knock them off before that meeting with St. John's. Toledo Central Catholic and Toledo Rogers would play to meet Northview. And I would not be surprised if say it's Toledo Central Catholic, that they could upset Northview and end up playing St. John's in a track game. But ultimately, I think Lima Senior comes out of here.
Okay. Well, it's funny. Normally, Toledo Rogers and Central Catholic be favorites, so they're still right in the mix this year. The other two Division I districts in that region are both out of the Akron area. First, you got Barberton. It's never stupid to pick against St. Vincent St. Mary's. They're certainly going to get to one side of the district final. The other side most likely will be Akron teams, Copley and Hoban.
Yeah, that's, I was looking over the script, and that's exactly, I went through, and that's exactly who I wrote down. Copley and Hoban, I think, is a game that could go either way. Both of those teams are pretty solid, but, man, you look at Akron St. Vincent St. Mary's schedule, and they lose the Spire, which was actually a closer game than the final score indicated. Then they got butchered by Moeller. And then they blew an 11-point lead heading into the fourth against Kennedy Catholic and ended up losing a close game there. But that's it. That's the only games they've lost this year. They move up to Division I from Division II, haven't missed a beat. I will be shocked if they do not get out of this district.
And, you've always been the first one to say, Stubbs, it's tough to beat them anytime, but it's really tough to beat St. V in March.
Yeah, and you know what? It's really tough to beat St. V a second time. If you beat them the first time, and Trotwood Madison found this out a couple of years ago, I think they beat them by 39 in the regular season down at Trotwood. St. V returns the favor and gets a victory in the semifinals, and then St. V beats them in the state finals last year. Really the only team I can think of in recent memory, John Glenn beat them twice in 2016, which is very, very hard to do. But, I would be, Corey, and I'd be interested because Moeller beat St. V by 37 the first time around. And I'm not saying Moeller wouldn't beat them again, but I would be highly surprised if it was a 37-point game.
Completely agreed. Mm-hmm. And then the other district is, I just learned how to say this because I butchered it when I was up there for the play-by-play. I believe it is Elyria. I thought it was Elira. Elyria district, Lorraine is going to be huge favorites, but if we have to talk about who they're going to play in the district final, more than likely Olmsted Falls Lakewood winner, but Lorraine is definitely going to be a team that's going to be competing in that region to go to the Final Four.
Yeah, I think Lorraine, the Titans are a strong favorite to come out of here. They were in the Final Four last year, had a great showing against Moeller in that semifinal game. But yeah, Lakewood and Olmsted Falls have both had a really nice season. Lorraine just seems to be a different animal after that loss to St. V. They've just been tearing through teams lately, and I think they're on a mission to have a rematch with St. V.
All right, Stubbs, thanks for that's the rundown of the Akron-Toledo region. Now let's move on to the Cleveland region. Like Akron-Toledo obviously has 4 districts. First district being the Canton district. Now in that district, you got the Massillon teams. You've got Jackson, who looks to me to be the favorite in that district. You've got the winner of Perry, North Canton, Hoover, who will play Jackson. And then on the other side, it looks like Akron Green. You think this is a pretty wide open district, don't you?
Yeah, I think the federal, because this is sort of like the Federal League district here. These teams, this has just been a very hard league to figure out. You look at it, Jackson is probably your favorite, but I mean, they've showed that they can be taken by several, couple teams in the league have gotten them this year. Perry got them, Green got them. You look at Hoover's been beat by Canton McKinley twice, so that's a possible matchup there in that district. And then on the other side, you got Akron Green. You got Lake, who is always really hard to play against because of the way they play. They got a really nice guard in Jake Marinville. Then you got Boardman, who's had a real nice season. They don't play a great schedule, but they've had a pretty good season. They haven't lost in a while. And then another team, they play a mainly D2 conference, is Dover. They haven't lost since January 8th. They're 19-2. They are a very tough team to play against because of the style of play. So I think that any one of those teams, I mean, Jackson, I think, is your favorite. But I would not be surprised if Green got out of here.
Okay. Well, that district's tough to figure out. I think the next one's even more difficult to figure out. Maybe the most interesting district in Division I. The Euclid district. You've got Mentor, likely going to take on the winner of Willoughby South and Solon, who Solon made it to the state championship game last year. Then on the other side, you got some other really good teams. You got Brush out of Cleveland. You got Cleveland Heights, and you've got Cleveland East Tech.
Yeah, I think this should be good. Obviously, Mentor and Solon have played. They're in the same league, so they've played twice. And Mentor has beat them both times. I think one game was by 15 and the other maybe by about 20 or so. But that's still going to be a tough game to play because Solon can score the ball. They can make shots. But on the other side, it's interesting because you got Brush, who's had a really good season. Chet Mason's done a good job. He's got a lot of talent on that team. But Cleveland Heights is a team that you can't sleep on. They have talent. They can get you on any given night. And East Tech has had a good season, too. They've lost a couple of games. I think they lost to Maple Heights and Glenville, both close games. So, this is interesting because I've heard people reference that this Mentor team is comparable to 2013. And I haven't seen this Mentor team, but I think that's a stretch. I do. I think that's a stretch. If I like Brush to come out of here. I do. I do think Mentor is very good, but I do like Brush. I think they have the guards. They have the size inside. I think Brush comes out of here.
I tend to agree. Brush, there's a lot of talent in that district, but I think Brush has the most. Next one in Cleveland, you've got the Solon district. You got Shaker Heights and Warren Harding, Twinsburg maybe as well on one side. On the other side, you've got a talented guard matchup. You've got Euclid versus #Garfield Heights. Who you got, Stubbs?
Well, on the one side, I think Shaker Heights, I think they get by Twinsburg. And you look over the other side, you've got Euclid with Garvin Clark, and then you got Garfield with a couple of guys that are in the gym quite a bit. Sonny Johnson Jr., Nietzsche Johnson. You know what? I do think that Garfield is getting better. They obviously play a really good schedule. When I saw Garfield, I feel like Garfield right now with their youth at the guard spot, they're about a 2.5 quarter team where they can play with just about anybody for 2.5 quarters and then kind of the wheels fall off. They don't get enough stops late in the game, which I think will eventually be their downfall. But you know what? Shaker, Euclid, Garfield, throw them in a hat. I don't know who's coming out of here.
Okay, and last one in Cleveland, you've got Lakewood District, where probably going to come down to two familiar foes, Eds and Ignatius, both Cleveland Catholic school teams.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Flannery must know somebody, man. He gets this district set up nicely where he can get that rivalry game against Iggs, and he wins that, and he's off to the regional. Eds and Iggy have played twice this year. They've split. I think both teams won on their own home court. Eds has been kind of up and down. Most of the teams they play are very good. Don't get me wrong, but on those back-to-backs, because they play a lot of Friday, Saturday games, they've split a lot of those this year, where in years past they sweep a lot of those. But I do think that they're a little more talented across the board than Iggy. And I would take Edge to get out of here.
I saw Eds in Elyria at the play-by-play, and they beat a really good Kennedy Catholic team out of Pittsburgh. And they're no strangers to playing top competition. So, all right, now let's move on. Columbus region. You got all four teams from the Central Ohio, all four districts being made of Central Ohio teams. Let's start going through these. Columbus won. I looked at it. I don't think there's a whole lot of teams to talk about. It's Hilliard Bradley. It's Pickerington North.
Yeah, I think that's your district final. I mean, there are a couple of teams that are familiar with Bradley in the top half of that bracket, but Bradley plays such good defense. I don't see them slipping up until this matchup against Pickerington North. This sets up a good matchup. You know what? I could see this game going either way. Jack Sawyer's a problem for pretty much anybody. I think this game comes down to, can North's guards be good enough to beat Bradley? Because Bradley does not beat itself. So I think North's guards have to be aggressive but efficient in this game if they're going to want to get by Bradley. This could be the game. This could be the best district final. Bradley pick North.
Yeah, it'd be a good game, and that game's got Morrow written all over it. You got Hilliard Bradley, and you've got Jack Sawyer. So,
I mean that's a 2-for-1 for him.
Well, the next district has Kurt Stubbs written all over it because that's Columbus too, and that's the district that you're going to find Pickerington Central. So your school, Pick Central, certainly heavily favorites on their side of the bracket. Other side, to me, it looks like Reynoldsburg, Upper Arlington. Who's going to win that game, and can either one compete with Pick Central?
Yeah, that's exactly what I had. And I tweeted this a while back, and this wasn't a reference to anyone in general, but in these drawings, you'll see teams vote somebody a little bit lower, but you can always tell who the teams don't want to play because they run away from them. And if you look at Pickerington Central, I mean, they're going to get like a 45 and a 43 or something like that, their first two games seed. And then pretty much the only team in the top half that could play with them would be probably Gahanna, who they just beat by, as many as they wanted to. But I do think that Reynoldsburg, being that they've played twice, and Reynoldsburg has been right there 3.5 quarters with Pick Central. And that was the first time they played them. They had Towns and Rogers. The second time they didn't. Both games were very, very similar. I think that Reynoldsburg has the athletes and the patience on offense and defense to play with Pick Central. And, you're always going to play somebody good eventually in the tournament. But this is a game that Pick Central needs to be ready and jacked up for, or Reynoldsburg can beat them.
Columbus 3, Dublin Kaufman, the favorite on paper. Other side of the district, you've got a couple teams that to me look pretty even, different stylistically, but pretty even in terms of results for the year. Walnut Ridge out of Columbus, Chillicothe, and Newark.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw one at you on the other side of the bracket. Kaufman was 21-1, and they just recently dropped a game to their rival Upper Arlington, which was a little bit surprising to me. But I'm going to drop this to you. Olentangy Orange is a possible matchup for Kaufman. And I know
Morrow's nodding his head, yes.
And I know Coach Kalo, coming from that coaching tree of his father, they are going to be tough and fundamentally sound. And I think that they could give Kaufman problems. Now, do I think that Kaufman will win? I do think Kaufman will win, but I would not sleep on Orange in this game because they will be ready, and Anthony Kalo will have them ready. But on the other side, you're exactly right. I mean, this isn't your older brother's Newark team. They're solid. They're not a great Newark team. Walnut Ridge has got a couple of 2 or 3 pieces. They've had a nice season. Chillicothe is a little bit of an unknown to most Columbus people, but they do have a really nice team. And in the end, I just feel like Quackenbush at Newark always finds a way, and Morrow could probably tell you this, always finds a way to get to the district final. And, would I be surprised if it's Kaufman-Newark district final? Absolutely not.
Last one in Columbus 4 district. The favorites would be the Olentangy Liberty versus Logan game. On the other side, you talked about this team somewhere. Maybe it was on your podcast when I was listening. Hilliard-Davidson.
Yeah, this district is intriguing because you got a really good district semifinal potential game in Liberty and Logan. I mean, and that's if Westerville North lets it happen. I mean, because they'll get a shot at Logan before that, and they've got some guys too with Keene and company with the Warriors there. But I think a lot of people would like to see this Liberty Logan game. It's a senior dominate. It would be a senior dominated game. You got Bo Myers for Logan. You got Ben Roderick for Liberty. And I think, man, that could be a really, really good game. Hilliard-Davidson, though, is the X factor here. But on their side, they do have Olentangy and Northland, who could both be a problem as well. But I think if Davidson can advance, they could give either of those two teams on the other side of the bracket some difficulties with their size and physicality. But you know what? I really like Liberty. I think Liberty has got all the pieces to get out of here. Guard play, shooters, size. They've got a guy in Roderick, which you have to have at this time of the year. I think Liberty gets out of here.
Interesting takes on all those Stubbs. With Columbus, from the outsider's point of view, everybody thinks that Bradley, Pick Central, Kaufman are going to run away with things, and number 4 is a little bit wide open. So you definitely broke down some other teams that are going to be in the mix. Let's look at the final region for Division 1, 4 districts out of Cincinnati. Districts Dayton's 1 through 4. Start with Dayton 1. One side is going to be Moeller. We can probably go ahead and Sharpie that, as they say. And the other side, for those who have faced Moeller, Turpin, West Claremont, complete different styles. I believe split this season, the best 2 teams in their league. And then Winton Woods with Coach Tuck in the mix are going to be in the mix. Coach Tuck's going to have his sunglasses on. He's going to be ready.
I was looking at this and I thought, man, this is setting up to be the Moeller Invitational here in this district. Those were the 3 teams I had: Turpin, Winton Woods, and West Claremont. A variety of styles. The thing about Moeller is they can dance to all the tunes. You want to play slow, they'll play. They'll beat you by 20 slow. If you want to speed it up, they'll beat you by 35 that way. So it doesn't matter what dance you're going to. Moeller's going to be just fine.
Stubbs, I gotta say, I've known you for probably 5 or 6 years now. That might be the most Stubbs line of all time.
I used to steal the Stubbs line when he would talk about a point guard. He would always say, "Corey, this guy's the straw that stirs the drink." But Dance to All the Tunes might be the new one. But Stubbs, I think you really hit it on the head with Moeller. If they end up playing Turpin, it's going to be more of a fun game. Turpin can make shots, so because of that, Turpin can potentially hang around for a while. I don't think they're good enough to beat Moeller. If West Claremont makes it through or Winton Woods makes it through, it is going to be low scoring. It is not going to be the most entertaining game. But those 2 teams have had good years, are just not as fun as, the up and down, shoot a lot of threes that Turpin likes to play. Dayton 2. Princeton's going to play Lakota East a second time. It's not sure, a second time. And I'm really high on Lakota East. They're playing great basketball right now. I think they make it through. Let's look at the other side. Huber Heights, Wayne, Kettering, Fairmont, Vandalia, Butler. You're pulling straws for who makes it through out of those 3. I have a feeling I know which one you're going to pick, though.
Yeah, I mean, Wayne and Fairmont are very familiar with each other. They play in the same half of the GWalk. And Fairmont actually beat Wayne this year for the first time in a long, long time. I do think Wayne is playing a lot better towards the end of the season. Ronnie Hampton's had a good year for them. Butler's kind of flew under the radar, 20-2 on the season. They haven't lost in a good. I think they've won about 10 games in a row. To me, I think Ryan Hall would be the best player in this half of the district, and I'm going to take Fairmont.
I drilled it. I knew you were going to take 100%. Knew you were going to take Fairmont, but no, I think that's a good pick, Stubbs. And Butler, like you said, is the unknown of the three. Wayne, Fairmont, it's going to be a fun one. That's going to be a fun one. But I really like Lakota East, and I'm going to like Lakota East to get through whoever gets out of the other half. Dayton the next Dayton division. One side you've got LaSalle and Mason. Mason's the favorite in there. After Lakota East and Moeller, Mason probably the best team in Cincinnati. Finished the year really strong. They're solid as always. LaSalle, Junior Layden, probably a year away. Then on the other side, you've got Xenia Centerville. Centerville's got the better team right now. They're playing better team ball, but Xenia's got a guy that can get you 40 plus, and Samari Curtis, he might keep him in the game. Do they have a chance?
Well, I'm a big Brooke Cups guy. And
big Brooke Cups guy.
When I saw Centerville at the flying to the hoop and they beat it's slipping my mind here, the team from Florida.
Oak Ridge out of Orlando, Florida.
Oak Ridge. And Centerville was lingering around the 500 mark. I believe they were like 4-5 at one point in the season this year. And they're sitting, I think, at 13 wins in a row now. And they have something that I would say no other team in the state of Ohio has, and that's Big Mo back there. And Mo is a problem on the defensive end because he has a good motor. He's really active from block to block, and he protects that rim. And it makes you be able to be a little bit more aggressive on defense, sort of like Moeller was last year with Jackson Hayes. And I'm not comparing those two. The impact that they have on the game is similar. I don't see any way where Brooke Cups allows Samari to go crazy and beat them. I think this district sets up nice for a Centerville Mason. I think we're looking at a Centerville Mason district final, and I think Centerville gets out of there.
That's your type of game, too.
Oh,
that's your type of
Greg
game.
Richards against Brooke Cups. I mean, that's a high-level coaching clinic right there.
There might be a combined 27 dribbles in that game.
Yeah, and the guy that dribbles it the most will likely get taken out of the game.
But no, two good coaches. That would be a good matchup. Dayton 4, last one. The most open, in my opinion, on the Cincinnati side, Oak Hills and Elder. They've played before. I believe Elder won the game. Oak Hills is probably having the better season. The other side, Hamilton versus Walnut Hills, extremely intriguing game. Could be a fun game. Then the winners of that will play. Then on the Dayton side, Springfield is the major favorite. Sydney's going to be in the mix. And I think Fairborn's in the mix, but they're probably third on that list. So Springfield versus whoever comes out of the Cincinnati side, that's going to be a wide open game.
Man, I don't know what it is. I haven't seen him on Spectrum or anything, but Hamilton, man, there's something about that team. I feel like they're going to get out of that half of the district. Maybe I'm.
The other coaches in their league just tell me, like, we never know what we're going to get when we play Hamilton. They might be great, they might not be, but when they're good, they're very, very good. I mean, they beat Lakota East and gave Lakota East a game the second time. They're a good team.
I feel like, the smart money is probably on Elder Oak Hills in that half of the bracket, but I don't know. There's something about Hamilton that I feel like they have a shot. But I would totally agree with you. Springfield has more guys across the board than Sydney or Fairborn. Sydney's got a really good player in Dre Gordon, but I think Springfield is the heavy favorite here.
And then when it goes to district final, Springfield is just going to have more athletic bodies than anybody else. But at least Hamilton's a good pick to maybe be a dark horse because they have some guys that can make shots, and that's at a premium right now where those other teams are low scoring. So, well, that's Division One. We're in through those. Let's go a little faster here, Stubbs. We don't want to kill these people too much, but let's hit Division Two up. Let's start back up in Canton area. Division Two, Ashtabula. I hope I said that one right. District, you've got your boy, Babe Kwasniak, Cleveland, VA, SJ, Villa Angela, St. Joe's, have been in every division, versus Mentor, Lake Catholic. That would be a nice little district final.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what you're going to get. Lake Catholic's got a couple of studs. St. Joe's got the pedigree. They play a really strong schedule. Babe usually has those guys up for big games. And I'll take Joe's to get out of there.
Well, let's look in that region then. And looking in that region, in the Youngstown district, you've got Poland Seminary, finally rid of Akron St. Vincent St. Mary. You've got Cortland Lakeview. In the Stowe district, you've got Richfield Revere. You've got Gilmore Academy out of Cleveland area. You've got Benedictine out of Cleveland. And then in the Canton actual district within the Canton region, you've got a team I really like in Akron Buchtel. You've also got Louisville and Fulton Northwest. Of those teams, is there any team you think can really make a strong push to win that region against the winner of VASJ Lake?
Yeah, I do. I think Benedictine across the board is probably as talented or more talented than anybody in this region. So I do think this will come down to Joe's and Benedictine. And I think Benedictine could get out of here.
I unfortunately did not get to see Benedictine this year, but I did get to see Gilmore Academy, and I think they have the firepower to give them a game. I don't know if they have the interior presence to hang with some of the bodies Benny's going to have, but I do like Gilmore Academy. Bowling Green, Division 2. Funky division because you got teams from all over the state almost. Starting with the Columbus one, you've got Columbus South, who's going to be favored maybe in every game all the way through the state tournament, with the winner of Beechcroft Watterson. I assume you like South?
I do. I like South to come out of here. Their guards are really, really good, and guards win games in March. I will take South to get out of here.
On the other three, we're going to run through kind of like last one, where Columbus South is the huge favorite in that region. But in those districts, you got Vermillion, Mansfield Senior, Clear Fork, Norwalk, and Lexington all in the Mansfield one. In the North Ridgeville district, you got Cleveland Central Catholic will be favored along with Holy Name and Bay Village. And then in the Ada bracket, you've got Lima Shawnee versus Wasson and Defiance. I like Cleveland Central Catholic to maybe give Columbus South a run. Anybody else?
Yeah, I like Cleveland Central Catholic to be a possible roadblock for Columbus South. Keep an eye on a couple of teams out of Mansfield, though. Mansfield Senior and Lexington. Lexington was in the Final Four last year. They got the stud, Cade Stover, Ohio State football kid. But they've got some other big-bodied guards on that team. Mansfield Senior, usually a D1 team, now in D2, just beat Lexington pretty handily the other night. So those are a couple of teams that could also be a problem for South.
Last year, Division II state semifinals, Cade Stover goes to warm up in a white tee with like a trucker hat on. You were on the bandwagon at that moment.
When you come out at the Final Four and you're warming up in a white tee, a mesh back hat on backwards, headphones, probably listening to AC/DC or Pantera, I mean, you have climbed my list.
That kid's a player, man. So we wish him the best of luck at Ohio State. Also, great to see a kid like that. Does he still plays there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, great to see a kid like that play his senior year of basketball when obviously this will be his last time on a basketball court, so that's fun. Athens region. Athens 1, you've got Thornville Sheridan, you've got Jackson, you've got Vincent Warren. Athens 2, you've got Zane Trace, Fairfield Union, Washington Courthouse. East 1, you've got John Glenn, Steubenville, and I've never heard of this St. Clairsville team. And then East 2, you've got East Liverpool, Andrew Babalik, alma mater. versus New Philly. Who do you like? Stubbs, this is all you. I don't know this region very well.
This has been dominated since they went 2 east and 2 southeast. There used to be a Columbus team that would come down here, so all the teams from Columbus would run to this region. But since it's east, southeast, east kind of had their way last year. I think it was Meadowbrook and John Glenn played for the regional title. Meadowbrook ended up going Meadowbrook in D3 now. But to me, the favorite here is probably New Philly or John Glenn, just because they're so sound defensively. It's really hard to score on either of those two teams. And in high school basketball, I've said this many times, a team that is really good on the defensive end is going to win more often than not, because if you don't have a bona fide stud on the other team, teams that scheme defensively very well usually win in high school games.
Okay. Now, the most intriguing region in Division II, and I don't think I'm just saying this being a Southwest Ohio guy, is the Southwest region. You've got 5 or 6 teams that are ranked in this state right now and have been ranked all season long. Now, there's one Columbus district there. Real quick, in that Columbus district, you got St. Francis de Sales, you got Granville, you got Bishop Hartley, you got Jonathan Alder. Who's coming out of that one?
Yeah, that's a good question. St. Francis de Sales and Hartley, both in the Columbus Catholic League there. They're very familiar with each other. Jonathan Alder's had a real nice season. I believe they beat de Sales. But I think de Sales comes out. I think they have the best team top to bottom. I'll take de Sales to come out of there.
Dayton won. Wyoming will be favored. Cincinnati Aiken has had a great finish to the season. They beat Taft and beat Hughes to clinch a share of the City League title down here. But you like McNicholas as well as a sleeper. On the other side, Kettering Alder and Bishop Fenwick have had good seasons, but Chaminade Julian's had a great season. Let's say it goes Chaminade Julian and Wyoming. Very, very intriguing basketball game. As good of a district final as there will be.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it on paper, and Wyoming's got a really good 3-headed monster in Walker and Edmonds and Prater, but man, there's just something about Staley that you look at his team and you're like, I don't know, and then you at the end of the game you're down and they beat you. This is going to be a fantastic game. I want to pick Wyoming, but I would not be at all surprised if CJ wins this district.
I hear you. The only thing I'm going to say is last year, Aiken did not have a great season, and Wyoming had a very similar record. Wyoming's better this year, but they had a very similar record, and Aiken beat them, and Aiken is very dangerous, so don't sleep on Aiken. Shaman, I would rather play Aiken because Aiken's a little less experienced, but Wyoming Shaman would be a great game. Dayton 2, pretty simple story. Trotwood Madison, one of the best teams in the state of Ohio, regardless of division, going to be up there as a favorite for the state championship. Thurgood Marshall and Hamilton Baden are in there, but I think we both agree Trotwood's going to make that run. They're tough to beat. Unless your name is St. Vincent St. Mary's, they are very, very tough to beat. Dayton 3 is the most interesting one. You've got Bellefontaine, Benjamin Logan, and Kenton Ridge on one side. But on the other side, Stubbs, you got 2 teams that, along with Aiken, split the Cincinnati City League. They chose to go at each other in the tournament. There's a lot of trash talk going around. You got Hughes and Taft out of Cincinnati.
You may be surprised with this, but I think the absolute smart money here is Taft. They have the seniors. They have the experience. It's going to mean more to them. I'm not saying it doesn't mean much to Hughes, but those seniors, when you got that many, guys that have played that many games, I think it means a little bit more. I'm going to take Taft for sure.
My only question mark with Taft is that there's no arguing that they've trended downwards a little bit over the last month. Their results were not as good as they had been. But I hear you on the seniority thing. I think it's a really good point. Hughes is playing with house money. Hughes' best basketball is coming in the next couple of years. Their best 2 players are a freshman and a sophomore. They've got some other guys coming in, but I don't know. It'll be a good game. I hear you, though, on Taft being a small favorite. That should be exciting and should be a really, really good regional more than anything. So let's move on here. Again, we'll go quick. Division 3, Canton. The Division 3 Canton, you got Lutheran East and Warrensville Heights in the Garfield Heights district. You've got Ashtabula Edgewood in the Warren district. I don't see anybody else outside of those three. Lutheran East is going to be the favorite, but Warrenville Heights has had a good year, and Edgewood, I understand, is a good team based on the AP poll.
Yeah, Edgewood has had a real nice season. They just lost recently to Poland. I think they were undefeated when Poland beat them. But Lutheran East and Warrensville Heights, to me, this region comes down to those two teams. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Lutheran East beat Warrensville Heights in the regular season. I do like Warrensville Heights backcourt combination, and I think that in the tournament, I think Warrensville gets them the second time around.
Interesting. Okay. Bowling Green region. Worthington Christian and Johnstown Monroe are coming out of Columbus. Genoa area is a team that's got a lot of buzz out of Toledo, as does Archbold, who's up in that area, as does a Stubbs favorite, Ottawa Glandorf. You've got Cardinal Stritch out of the Toledo area as a very dangerous team. You've got Bluffton's had a good year. And you got a couple teams out of the Norwalk area, but it seems like Archbold, Genoa area, Ottawa Glandorf. And then I know Zach Fleer likes Worthington Christian. I'm not super familiar with him, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he does. They actually, I think, lost one of their better kids, Derek Harden, who was a nice piece to their puzzle. But they've been playing really good basketball lately, and Johnstown Monroe is having a good season as well. That should be a very interesting game if that happens. But I think, you look down here, you got Toledo, you got Lima, you got Newark. Cardinal Stritch is a team that has really come on lately. They've had some nice wins down the stretch. After taking that 3-point loss to Marion Local at the flying of the hoop, they get beat there at the end. But they've been red hot since then. And then in Lima, man, I'll tell you what, Archbold is one game from running the table in the regular season. But Archbold needs to be aware of Coldwater in a possible district semifinal game. If Coldwater can get by Van Buren, Coldwater has a ton of talent. I think they're just a few games above 5. They might be around 12-9-ish. I think that's a dangerous game for them. And then on the other side, Ottawa Glandorf has played Bluffton, I believe. Bluffton is the only team to beat Convoy Crestview this year, beat them by a deuce. To me, Ottawa Glandorf lost to Archbold early in the season by 1. I think Ottawa Glandorf is the favorite to get out of here. They got size. They got a great guard in Heigl. They got shooters. This is a classic Ottawa Glandorf team.
For those listening, Kurt Stubbs, you can hear the excitement in his voice, loves that Northwest Ohio small-town basketball, and he knows it means it's getting closer to getting reunited with your boy at the state tournament, Aaron Matthews.
Yeah, man, he's got some bird watching to do before then, but we'll see.
Aaron Matthews is what you called bought in.
Yeah, I think Aaron probably comes down Wednesday night, so he gets that fresh fade cut probably on Tuesday, but he will be ready.
And that light blue shirt never fades, man. He's got it. Aaron Matthews, he's got it. So Athens Division 3, you got some good teams: Frankfort Adena, Beaver Eastern, Proctorville Fairland, Winchester Eastern, Sugar Creek Garraway, Martins Ferry, Byersville Meadowbrook, Columbus Academy, Columbus Afrocentric. But let's talk about two teams, Stubbs. Wheelersburg, Columbus Harvest Prep are by far the two most accomplished teams so far in that region.
I would agree, especially with the Harvest Prep. I think this is their region to lose without a doubt. I mean, they have just been dump trucking people. And some decent teams they're doing this to. But you look at this, and Beaver Eastern is a team that not a lot of people probably know a whole lot about, but they're 21-1 on the season. Little fun fact, their head coach, Tom Barrick, has taken Wheelersburg to the state tournament before. But the fun fact is my first teaching job, the first room that I was ever in used to be Tom Barrick's room when he was at Old Jewett-Scio High School. But he went on to Wheelersburg and now at Beaver Eastern 21-1. Fun fact.
I talked to him 1 year somewhere, and he told me the same fun fact as like, man, Kurt Stubbs was in that building, so he thinks very highly of you.
It was one of those buildings where you may fall through the floor, the old wooden floor. Yeah, it was quite the place. Wheelersburg, though, obviously has Tanner Holden, who's been a stud. They've been great all year long, undefeated. Proctorville Fairland is a team that bumped down from D2. Man, Nathan Speed has done a unbelievable job. They lost almost everybody. They're around 18-4, I think. And you mentioned Harvest Prep. Afrocentric jumped in there with them because, I think they're familiar with Harvest Prep. Obviously, they play about twice a season. But I think Harvest Prep is clearly better than them this year. They've got a young backcourt at Afrocentric who's going to be pretty good down the road. But the one team that we didn't mention was Meadowbrook. And they are bumping down from D2 last year where they were at the state tournament, got ran off the floor by Trotwood, completely overmatched. But this is a very sound defensive team in Meadowbrook led by Davis Black. So watch out for Meadowbrook and Garaway because Garaway had Harvest Prep in overtime last year in the regional finals. So it's not going to be an easy road, but Harvest Prep is definitely the favorite.
Last region, Division III, Kettering region.
Ooh.
I like Brookville. I like what Georgetown brings. Reading and North College Hill are in the mix in that district. I like Georgetown to surprise some people. They've got a really, really good big. Noah Pack, who's going to Thomas More College. And Brookville or Georgetown, I think, is one of them. Dayton Stivers versus Deer Park is the game everybody will be talking about if Deer Park gets by Seven Hills. In Dayton 3, you've got Anna, who's a very, very good team. They'll play the winner of the rubber match between Cincinnati Hills Christian Academy and Clark Montessori. But the big favorite will be out of Dayton 4. Anna's right in the mix, as is Stivers. But Dayton 4, you've got Purcell Marion. They got to get past Middletown Christian, but that regional, Anna, Purcell Marion, maybe Stivers, maybe Brookville, maybe Deer Park seems to be the way to go.
Yeah, I think Purcell is the clear favorite here. But I think after Purcell, there is a lot of depth to this region. And I'm going to call you.
Everybody keeps talking about Anna right now.
Call you on something. There is nothing you like about Georgetown, so don't even go there. I
hate him. No, great point. They knocked me out of the tournament both years. I like the big. I wish he went to any other school. Okay. No.
So.
I mean, one team had them beat in the fourth quarter. We're up 4 2 minutes to go. No one else was even beating them in the second half all year. You don't get a second place medal for it, should you? Probably.
Yeah. So let's just put that on the table. Dayton Stivers, I think, is a team that, they've got some athletes. They've got some good guards. I don't think that they are at Purcell's level. I think Anna's a good team. They don't have a whole lot of size, which will not be good against Purcell Marion. I feel like I've liked Purcell all year as my favorite in this division, not just in the region. So I don't see that I'm going to change my mind on them getting out of the region.
Okay, that's good. Well, let's run through the last division, being Division 4. You're going to have to carry me here. There's a lot of country teams. Canton region, Bristol, Richmond Heights, North Robinson, Colonel Crawford. Richmond Heights has the talent, but we know that a lot of times you see talented Division 4 city teams and the small town teams give them trouble. Do you like anybody in this region?
Yeah, I think you spoke the word there. Richmond Heights is, to me, the favorite. I think they have a really good team. Q Rogers has done a very good job with those guys. If you're not,
he went red.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with the name Q Rogers, he was the coach of the Jared Solinger led all Ohio Red team that had quite a bit of success in the travel basketball.
Tough roster to win
yeah,
with.
Tough roster to win with. A few pros on that team, some high level.
You know what Q did really well? You know what Q did really well with that team? And I'm being serious. He never subbed. He knew he had the best five. We ain't subbing.
Yeah, we good. Yeah, we good. And he ate those Mike and Ikes or Ike and Mikes or whatever they're called. He really
big backpack guy.
Yeah, big backpack guy. But yeah, he did a good job. He's doing a good job at Richmond Heights. They've got some talented kids. Curtis Houston's a good player for them. Bristol is always a really good team. Another team that we didn't mention was New Middletown Springfield, who's had a really good season as well. I think Richmond Heights' biggest threat is probably Colonel Crawford. Dave Sheldon does a great job. They got a nice team, play a solid schedule. I think Colonel Crawford, Richmond Heights is your winner of this region.
Bowling Green, Convoy, Crestview has got to be the favorite. Sycamore, Mohawk, and Hicksville have had a good year. I don't think they're quite this level, but Maumee Valley Country Day, you got to mention them because they have the best player. And their junior point guard, Zeb Jackson, is committed to Michigan, but Convoy Crestview is really good, and Kurt Stubbs is a really big fan.
I was a fan of the 2014 Crestview team. And they were.
I heard something about
that.
Yeah,
they were different than this team because they relied on their camaraderie and the fact that they were senior laden. And this team is senior laden too, but they have two studs. When you talk about the Etzler brothers, 6'6", 6'7", and 6'8", guys that can play inside and out. And when those two kids are knocking shots down, they are really hard to beat. See Minster at the flying to the hoop. They've got one loss on the season. I know they'd like to have that game back against Bluffton. It was a 2-point loss, but they've been hammering people ever since. In this region, like you said, Zeb Jackson, Maumee Valley, Country Day, probably the best player in the region. Hicksville has played Convoy. That was a pretty lopsided game. I don't see any way Convoy doesn't get out of here.
Seems about right. Athens Division 4. I don't know much about this one. You're going to have to fill in the blanks. Berlin Highland, always good. Gloucester Trimble, I know people are high on. Don't know much about them. Toronto High School, and then Bishop Rosecrans out of Zanesville. I'm familiar with the school, but who's the favorite down there?
Well, Berlin Highland just beats probably the second best team in this region, which is Strasburg Franklin. Strasburg Franklin actually just got done playing at the old Hoosiers, from the movie Hickory. They played Fort Laramie out there in a pretty cool little setting out there for a game. And they're a really good defensive team. Berlin Highland, this isn't like your Dylan Kaufman, Cedar Bonifant team. This team is a typical Mark Schlaball team. They get it done on the defensive end. They're really hard to score on. They've only lost one game. They lost the game to East Tech earlier in the season. Strasburg and Highland are in the same district. I think they're the two best teams in the whole region. If you're looking at the Southeast, Trimble, Howie Caldwell, legendary Southeast Ohio coach. He got Reidsville Eastern to the state tournament some years back. But I think the team down there, Cole Grove, Dawson Bryant, Eric Music, is an underrated player out of Southeast Ohio. But Toronto, another team, they're up there above Steubenville. They're above them on Route 7. They just recently played Wheeling Central, who's a really good team. Pretty tough. They have an Ohio State baseball commit on Toronto. It's a really good basketball player, too, good athlete. But in the end, I think this comes down to Highland Strasburg. And the fact that Highland has beat them twice makes me a little nervous for the Hawks, that Strasburg beating teams that you've played that close to 3 times is going to be difficult.
Last region, Division 4, Southwest, Kettering, a lot of teams. Springfield Central Catholic, my dark horse, Gamble Montessori out of Cincinnati, probably a year away. St. Henry, you mentioned Minster, Marion Local, who won the state title last year. Cincinnati Christian, maybe. Fort Laramie, Jackson Center, real quick, Stubbs, who gets out of that one, or who are the 2 or 3 teams who could get out of that one?
I think the three teams, I think you've got to look at St. Henry, Minster, Marion Local out of the MAC, Fort Laramie, Jackson Center out of the Shelby County League. I think the winner of this, it's really hard to get back. I think St. Henry and Minster. And I think Minster is going to be the team to get out of this region.
Okay. Well, that's great, Stubbs. Listen, not many guys can run through 16 regionals, 64 districts. We appreciate your time. Long podcast, but very informative. Thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate it, my man.
All right, guys, that was Kurt Stubbs. Remember, if you haven't listened yet, check out the Ohio High School Hoops Around the State podcast. For Corey Albertson, for Jason Morrow, Jesus Christ. For Jason Morrow, I'm Corey Albertson. Thank you for listening to the Triple Double Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by PlayEasy.com. For players, coaches, or casual athletes looking to book a sports facility, as well as owners and managers of sports facilities, PlayEasy.com is the new one-stop site for streamlined services. If you're looking for a place to practice, play, host your tournament, camp, or other, simply go to PlayEasy.com and create a booking request for your area. Your request will go out to surrounding facilities who will respond with their best offer. Once you receive the offer that best fits your needs, book the facility and you're ready to play. For facility owners and managers, PlayEasy puts the power in your hands to maximize the usage and visibility of your facility. Register your facility for free today at PlayEasy.com. PlayEasy.com is the booking site built by athletes, coaches, and facility managers, and is proud to help bring you the Triple Double Podcast. This podcast is also brought to you by Anago Cleaning Systems. Are you tired of struggling in a dead-end job? If so, Anago Cleaning Systems has what you're looking for, an opportunity to go into business for yourself, but not by yourself. With franchising opportunities available for as little as a $2,500 down payment, purchasing an Anago franchise has never been easier. Once you own your Anago franchise, you're licensed to clean commercial facilities all around the greater Cincinnati, Dayton, or Columbus areas with the support of Anago's sales, quality control, operational, and accounting staff. Call 513-332-0033 today for your opportunity to be your own boss and grow your own commercial cleaning company under the guidance of Anago's proven and successful system. Again, call 513-332-0033 to learn more. With Anago, your future starts today.